The film begins by showing a married couple, David and Alexis, who have just woken up from their sleep. They appear very happy, but there is a slight sense of unease. Alexis shares that she had a nightmare about their 2 children. David tries to comfort her, assuring her that everything will be fine, as dreams are nothing more than fleeting illusions. At the dining table, David, Alexis, and their extended family are seen enjoying breakfast together in a warm and joyful atmosphere. They have gathered to celebrate the upcoming wedding of Alexis's younger sibling. After the gathering, David excuses himself to take care of his business. David then stops by his store, which is managed by his cousin, who is known for frequently throwing parties there. Shortly after, a man named Creeper arrives. Creeper is David's childhood friend as well as his business partner. Suddenly, a Mafia figure named Victor appears. Victor shows great respect and deference to both David and Creeper. As they are powerful figures in the Mafia world, Victor requests their help in stopping other gangs from interfering with his operations. He also brings a tax payment to hand over to David and Creeper. David explains that all Mafia groups operating in the Western region must not only submit to them but are also required to pay 30% of their business earnings. Should anyone fail to comply, David and Creeper will not hesitate to eliminate them.
You just swore. I'll come to you.
David and Creeper then meet with Louie, David's uncle and their supreme leader. Louie has taken on this role temporarily in place of David's father, who is currently serving time in prison. As the leader, Louie is responsible for managing their operations, particularly tax collection. Meanwhile, David and Creeper are tasked with handling field operations, personally collecting payments from the designated Mafia groups. After receiving the list of groups they must visit, David and Creeper set out to complete their mission. Their first target is a Mafia group that must fulfill its financial obligation without resistance. The group promptly hands over the required tax payment to David and Creeper. Additionally, David warns the group's leader to cease interfering with Victor's gang. If they ignore this warning, David will not hesitate to eliminate those who defy him.
Looks good. Sorry about your boy, motherfucker.
After completing their task at this location, David and Creeper proceed to the next Mafia group to continue their collections. Upon arriving at another Mafia group's territory, they witness members of the gang torturing a black Mafia member. The leader of this group, whom we will call Jordy, explains that the man in question was caught engaging in an illicit relationship with the fiancée of one of his subordinates. David asks Jordy to release the man, as he does not want a personal dispute to escalate into a full-scale war between Mafia factions. Fearing David's influence, Jordy agrees and lets the man go. David and Creeper then escort him back to his own gang. Upon arrival, David meets with the group's leader, Bon. He explains that the incident was purely a personal matter and had no connection to power struggles or Mafia business. Grateful for David's intervention in preventing bloodshed, Bon expresses his appreciation. David resumes his mission, but this time, a misunderstanding arises, leading to tension. The situation escalates until Creeper, as a warning, draws his gun.
That's what we did for a month straight. One of these college kids. Trust me when I tell you.
While on the road, David suddenly received a call from Alexis asking for help. She wanted to avoid paying for the dress she was picking up for her sister's wedding. David immediately went to the location and intimidated the store owner, causing them to become frightened and drive everyone out except for his family. That night, Alexis counted all the tax money David had collected. However, she discovered that Victor had not provided the full amount required. This enraged David, but Alexis tried to calm him down. David and Creeper then confronted Victor to question him about the violation. Out of fear, Victor asked his wife to retrieve the money he had hidden in the refrigerator. Just as David was about to kill him, Victor revealed that he needed extra money to cover the medical expenses of his child, who was suffering from leukemia.
What?
Wait till you think I'm stupid.
As proof, Victor showed David a photo of his hospitalized child. Feeling sympathy, David decided to let Victor keep the remaining amount. On his way home, David received a message from Uncle Louie, instructing him to visit the headquarters of the Venom Group. They needed to collect a large tax payment, as Venom had recently started a new business. David and Creeper quickly made their way to the Venom base, where they were greeted by a woman named Gata. Without hesitation, David demanded that Venom hand over the tax money. However, just as Creeper was about to take the money, Venom informed them that the money was not meant for them. Suddenly, an older man dressed like a king appeared. It was Konedo, a former Mexican general. Konedo declared that from now on, the Venom Group would only pay taxes to him. He went on to say that soon, all the Mafia groups in the West would submit to him and pay their dues. Frustrated, David and Creeper left, holding back their anger.
Así mero. Let's go, Creeper.
David and Creeper immediately went to see Uncle Louie to report the situation with Konedo. Louie explained that Konedo was the leader of the Eastern Mafia. In the past, Konedo had great respect for David's father, but after his father's imprisonment, he became ambitious and sought to take control of the Western territories. David suggested that they eliminate Konedo right away. However, Louie insisted on holding a vote first to determine whether they should launch an attack. David accused his uncle of being afraid, but Louie quickly reprimanded him for underestimating his authority. The next day, David attended Alexis's sister's wedding. During the event, Uncle Louie approached him and informed him that he would soon take action against Konedo. While David was relaxing, Gata suddenly approached him and told him that he needed to come to a nightclub immediately. Uncle Louie wanted David and Konedo to meet and negotiate peace in order to prevent an all-out war between them. The next day, David gathered the remaining members of his uncle's group to eliminate Konedo and his men. However, Konedo's men suddenly arrived and massacred everyone, except for David and Creeper. Creeper was cornered and taken away, while David managed to escape, fearing that his family would be the next target. David rushed to pick up Alexis so they could leave immediately. While in the car, Konedo video called David and showed him Creeper being brutally executed. David was filled with rage, but he realized there was nothing he could do at that moment. David took Alexis and their two children to a hotel. Alexis pleaded with David to stop fighting Konedo and instead flee to start a new, peaceful life. David promised that they would leave the city together, but first, he needed to return home to retrieve something. It turned out that David had buried a large sum of money. When his cousin asked where the money came from, David revealed that he had stolen it 9 years ago with Creeper. Before leaving, his cousin handed him his father's gun, and David bid farewell to his mother. Feeling anxious, David called Alexis to inform her that he was ready to leave with the money. However, when he arrived at the hotel, he found Alexis lifeless and his children missing. Overcome with grief, David was certain that Konedo and his group were responsible for this. That night, David, still mourning, sought out the Black Mafia group he had previously helped. Bon, their leader, asked the reason for David's visit. David explained that all his subordinates had been killed, Creeper and his wife were dead, and his children had been kidnapped by Konedo. He requested Bon's help in avenging them and eliminating Konedo's group. Bon agreed and began assembling his men. Once everything was ready, they launched an attack on Konedo's men. They successfully wiped out Konedo's subordinates, but David spared one to interrogate. After extracting information about his children's whereabouts, David immediately executed the man. David's children were being kept at Konedo's mother's house. He felt somewhat relieved knowing they were safe. One of Bond's men wanted to kill Konedo's mother, but David stopped him. Despite his hatred for Konedo, David refused to harm an innocent person, demonstrating his strong moral principles. To ensure his children's safety, he left them in the care of Bond's men. Meanwhile, David and Bond prepared for their final mission, to eliminate Konedo at his residence. David stealthily infiltrated Konedo's hideout, eliminating his men one by one. Meanwhile, Bond was captured by Gata and Konedo's forces. Eventually, David confronted Konedo and managed to corner him. A fierce fight ensued. Although David struggled at first, he ultimately overpowered and killed Konedo. With Konedo dead, Bond arrived and quickly took David away. During their journey, David asked Bond to stop for a moment so he could call his father. Over the phone, David recounted everything that had happened. His father congratulated him, declaring that David was now the new Mafia king. All the Mafia groups in both western and eastern Mexico would now submit to him.
He wants you.